evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so pleased to have a conversation with our international speaker, Ms. Kiran Sethi. First of all, let me have a very brief introduction of our guests. Ms. Sethi is a member and a judging panel of the Yidan Prize for Education Development. Ms. Sethi is an Indian designer, educationist, education reformer, and social entrepreneur. And she founded the Riverside School in India in 2001 because of her son. And in 2007, she launched a Approach. It is an initiative to make Indian cities more child-friendly. And in 2009, Ms. Sethi founded the Design for Change, the largest movement of change for and by children in India. And in 2015, Kiran founded the Riverside Learning Center, a pedagogical research and training organization based in Ahmedabad, India, with a global reach in over 9 countries. So, good evening, Kiran. Hi.
Hi, everybody. So delighted to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Yeah, thank you so much for accepting our invitation, Kiran. I'm so glad to have you here tonight. In the interest of time, I see some of the questions that I gather from my guests so that, you know, they all can enjoy your experience. Let me share one by one. And actually, I know that you like to talk about the creative education is to address both the heart and the mind. So what do you mean by the heart and mind in creative education? Why are these elements so essential in the post-pandemic era?
You know, I don't think it's necessary only in creative education. I think they are the fundamental tools of all education. If you look at a child, we all have the heart, the mind, and the will to do something. Unfortunately, most education only takes care of the mind. You know, we think that, okay, if we talk, we think, we are fine. But every research tells us that when you address the heart, then the mind will follow. So when children feel good, that's how they will be ready for learning. So whether it is creative, resilient, well-being, it's unimportant what the purpose is, but education must be able to address both the heart and the mind. Only then will the child be ready to be, you know, an agent of change. So, and after the pandemic, I think it is even more important because a lot of our children witnessed so much of loss, so much of grief, so much of fear. You know, they were being told for the first time to love somebody is to be afraid. We told them, you know, stay away from your friends, stay away from schools, stay away from parks. And that's one of the greatest worries that children have to overcome. So when we keep talking about learning loss, oh my God, the child doesn't know math and English. I think the main important thing is to make sure our children's hearts are ready to learn. So I would say it's the most important focus of education, not just creative education, to address the heart of our children.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you. I really agree with you, Kiran. Actually, you reminded me one of the quotes from Aristotle. Educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. So thank you for your insightful sharing, Kiran. And I know that, Kiran, you are the founder of Design for Change. Can you tell us what makes you think of bringing the DFC to life? And would you like to share how this movement works for over 60 countries, and especially in the post-COVID-19 era?
You know, I think Design for Change took its own life. I did not bring it to life. I thought it was an important idea. I introduced it in 2009, just in India. Okay, I thought, okay, I think it's really needed in India. But I think it was such a beautiful, simple model. I was hearing the other lady talk about design thinking and how important it is for human values. And I was surprised how important that need was across the world. You know, I thought it was going to be in India, but then when the TED talk happened and people started noticing the talk, I was really surprised that there was such a need across the world for children to be able to be agents of change. And for me, that was such a surprising sort of insight. And then it took a life of its own. It just traveled the world. People across the world started saying, my God, this is so easy to do. And it's so important in our context. So for me, I think I didn't hold on to it. I let it go. It traveled the world, and it started planting seeds in different parts of the world. So I think for me, that was so beautiful. Post-COVID, I think I've seen the greater need. Across the world, people are talking about agency. People are talking about children believing in their power. And Design for Change gives children that simple framework: feel, imagine, do, and share, to be able to act on whatever that bothers them, imagine a way to make it better, put it into action. And then when they share it, more children see and say, oh my God, I can do that too. So for me, it was as after COVID. So I just need to reach 198 countries. So I have a long way to go.
Really good. I think it's a good way to spread it out. It's a very simple formula, isn't it? FIDS, right? Very simple one. And then everybody can enjoy it. How many cases around the world are using it now? Over
2 million children.
Wow, that's a lot.
Using it. And we have over 30,000 solutions of change. So yes, it is a beautiful story. Yeah.
I'm sure. So now it's not just India, right? Across lots of countries. Oh, great. Oh, I would like to learn more later on. And Kiran, I guess you noticed that, right? People the world is growing with a lot of technology. Children like electronic devices and virtual challenges more than the books and traditional education. They found it very boring. And how would you advise our audiences, such as the educators, teachers, and parents, to bring back the interest of our children to connect with people rather than the gadgets in the COVID-19?
You cannot encourage children unless you don't practice it. So it is unreasonable to expect a child to change their behavior if they don't see their parents change the behavior first. I have learned one thing: children might not listen to you, but they will always imitate you. So if on the dinner table, the gadget is available, if in the metro, the gadget is available, if your father is driving the car with the phone in his hand, it is unreasonable to then tell children to be wary of the gadget. So I think I have seen that whatever we need children to be, we have to be that first. So I find that the greatest challenge is not getting children to be disinterested, it's getting adults to be disinterested in gadgets. So at homes, I would always encourage parents to have your dinner table without the gadget, to have conversations at the dinner table. I find that we outsource parenting to a gadget. We tell children, see a cartoon and eat your food. And I think it's so difficult for parents now to remove that gadget. And then they say, oh, but our children don't listen to us. But they're not listening because they don't have any other models. So if teachers and parents have to get children to be excited about the world, excited about talking to each other, they must see us do that a lot more. So only when they see the adults in the school and adults in the home engage, put the device aside, tell stories, play a game, magic happens. So I would say, first, let the adults be interested to keep this phone on the side. Everything else will work.
Absolutely. I think the adults and the parents should be the role model first, right? Don't force people to do the things they like, but they didn't do the example. So very good. Your sharing resonate me, Kiran. I should do the same, and don't expect my son to, follow me. Thank you so much. One more question, Kiran. I think it's a little bit challenging. I'm not sure whether you have more insight and share with us. There are groups of children with special educational needs. We call them SENs, right? Such as those students with hyperactivity disorders. I don't have to mention about those disabled children. But do you think design thinking or design for change be applied to online class for SEN students to indulge their interest and attention in communicating with people? Is there any DFC stories that relating to this issue?
You know, we did a lot of design for change online when we went because of COVID. And it doesn't matter where you are. A child just needs to activate the idea of empathy, right? And it starts with observations. So when COVID happened, we looked at design for change in the house. We said, do good from home. So we asked children to look at grandparents' medicines, you know, do the grandparents have the medicines on time? Or who's feeding the stray dogs outside where nobody can go out? So we started getting them to question and look at their immediate environment and still do the feel, imagine, do, share from home. So we got beautiful stories about how do you get children to play outdoor games inside. So we started giving them really interesting challenges. We said, how do you play an outdoor game like football and turn it into an indoor game, you know, that you could do at home? So in providing challenges, I think children are able to activate the same FIDs. I've seen that even with special needs. I will tell you a beautiful story that came from Taiwan. In fact, it was a story of a visually impaired child who didn't make friends. And his friend who could see invited lots of friends to say, can my friend Jack touch your face and become friends with you? Nobody realized people would come. And then when they came, Jack started touching the face and say, oh my God, you know, this is Michael or this is John. And he started touching the face. So much so, he had touched his mother's face for the first time. It was incredible for everybody. And she said, I didn't even realize that my son needed to touch my face. And then he said, Mother, your nose is very small. And she started crying. She said, my God, I didn't realize that my son needed to touch my face. That story inspired the Visually Impaired Institute to use that as a way for having visually impaired children to start making friends. So it's little stories like that that can inspire us. It doesn't matter how able you are, because we're abled in multiple ways. So I think the Feel, Imagine, Do, Share includes all children, not your children and my children, all children.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, I think no matter what children, we all have to, get feelings and love, right? The empathy.
And in fact, my partner in Hong Kong, in fact, he works with very young children. So people still say, they'll think, oh, design thing is for elderly. No, our partner in Hong Kong, Jeff, he works with kindergarten children to use the same Feel, Imagine, Do, Share to acts of change. So it can go from 3 years, or I keep saying 6 years to 60 years. Everybody's included.
Thank you, Kiran. Yes. I have one more question, Kiran. This one is very close to Hong Kong. As Tiffany just shared, it is the latest government directive on education. We intend to move the STEM to STEAM. So in your opinion, how can design thinking and design for change play a role in the STEAM education in Hong Kong?
To do with design thinking is a framework. It can be applied to any realm, any domain. It is not content. Design thinking is a process, and you can apply to anything that you want to. So whether it is STEAM, whether it is STEM, whether it is social emotional well-being, design thinking gives you a process to make it add more human value, right? And finally, who's the human value? It's the student, the value for learning, the value about. So I think there is no disconnect between either FIDS. FIDS is offering a very simple framework, and design thinking, it's the same process. You start with empathy, you go into discovery, you look at, prototyping and refinement, and then you look at actually coming up with a solution. So whether it is in STEAM, whether it is in STEM, engineering, medicine, it really doesn't matter. I just feel DFC or design thinking just makes everything a lot more meaningful. It doesn't get done just for the sake of it. It gives purpose. It gives you purpose in whatever you do. And for me, that is the ultimate reason to learn. So it's purpose driven and it brings value. It's beautiful.
Great, thank you so much. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yeah, design thinking, I also learned it a few years ago, right? And I came from the human resources sector, and I found that it is a universal solution for everything, just related to people. That is, everything is done. So great. Thank you so much, Kiran, for your precious time, for joining us and let us to know about DFC and also design thinking, which is a wonderful solution for us, for the people. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everybody. And thank you so much for supporting Design for Change in Hong Kong and my wonderful Jeff. And Flora, God bless you for all the work that you do. And I'm hoping to come to Hong Kong very soon. But if anybody comes to India, please come in for a coffee with Kiran. Bye. God bless. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Bye.